Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. You'll see right here that the ES has bounced back today. Something we talked about at the end of the session yesterday was watch the previous session's low and close, because after hours, if they are strongly rejected, we could get a pretty significant bounce back day toward the previous session's midpoint. We have done that and then some in both the ES and the NQ. We have bounced back to the previous month's low. That's another level we talked could happen. And then what I mentioned yesterday is if that area is rejected, it could offer another opportunity to sell this ahead of the next significant decline. These bounces, again, as I mentioned yesterday, after a significant sell-off like we saw yesterday, you get even bigger bear market bounces than you would in a normal bull run. This is a huge bounce that we're seeing right now, greater than 3% in the ES. CL bounce is greater than 8% right now. We'll see that in a moment, but these are significant moves here at the moment. And what you have to notice is, again, we are still below the previous month's low. We have pulled back below it, and again, this market took a big tumble, held last week, and is starting again. If this starts to push through the 2700 level, it opens up another major area of support down below in the 2300. So this could be a very significant move. Again, if we cannot hold the 2700 zone overall, if we start to push through there, whether it's later today or later in the week or at some point, it opens up all of the downside into about 2300. So this is a very important area of support. Best case scenario here would be for a V-bottom bounce and maybe a return back up, or maybe a hold. Again, if you can't hold 2740, 2700, it opens up quite a bit more downside. So that's something to look for here moving forward. If you look at the NQ right now, again, the NQ has also bounced up 3.5% at the moment. Big bounce back up toward the midpoint and through it, and now back above the previous month's low price. Again, this has been pretty big drop in the previous session. Another rejection here that led to a big push up. And again, if price cannot find acceptance back above 8400 pretty soon, we could be looking at another move down to the next area of support, which would be about 7400. 7400. So we have short-term support at around 7400 that could be hit. That's about this zone here, 75 to 74, right in that area. And then below that, you start to get to 7K, and then down toward 5800. So you have a couple of major levels down below. Again, not as damaged as the ES, but for the most part, breaking below 8K would open up some of these lower levels into 7K at the very least. So we'll watch that from a longer term perspective. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. This one is up over 8% here today. A big bounce back already. You can see again the previous session dropped as low as 27%. Bouncing back up toward 35. One thing I mentioned yesterday to our group is from this strong sell-off to that strong low, you have 38 as a target. So 38 would be the easy target. 38 even is the midpoint of the current month's sell-off. If we get to that point, we have ourselves a new key range between 27 and 50, and we could do business in that range before we see some sort of discernible correction. So again, this is going to be very interesting here. Can price push through the 35s to open up another 3 handles of range today, or do we kind of stay in range? Already up 8+% today. We'll see if this thing can push through 35s. But again, 38 is the high probability target ahead, and then you have up to about 40 and perhaps that gap fill. But again, that would help create a new key range for us if we hit those 38. So again, looking for a push toward 38 over the next couple of days. All right, let's take a look lastly at gold futures. This one's down about 0.8% at the moment. This one had a little bit of a push through 1700 in the previous session, pulled back a bit, and is now testing an intraday support area of about 1660. Holding 1660 or 1650 would suggest another push higher. Right now we are coming into kind of the trigger zone of the bullish PEMAs here, so you can see it barely hit the 8-period average and already bouncing. Typically speaking, when it hits that 8 period or in that zone, it has had a a quick time bouncing right back out of it. But again, keeping an eye on 1660, 1650 on an intraday basis, holding above that zone suggests a little bit more upside here, even if it's just to test prices above 1700, between 1700 and 1720. Overall, this market remains bullish. Pullbacks to be bought until proven otherwise. But again, this is a very important range right here. We could continue to stay inside this range, so we could go as deep as 1560 and still be bullish. Don't expect that to be the case, but again, keeping an eye on 1650 to 1660 today for early support cues. All right, that's it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.